The Meridian Gate, the main entrance to the Forbidden City, is as ancient as the imperial palace itself. Once only royalty and the privileged were allowed to enter, but now the gate is open to all. The 453 exhibits in the gallery quietly await the arrival of visitors from China and abroad. Here, people are taken back in time to the year 1420, when the Forbidden City was first completed. The red walls have safeguarded a palace of seemingly unfathomable depth. The Forbidden City has witnessed so many historic moments in the past. East Prosperity Gate, where attendees of court meetings were admitted in the Qing dynasty, is now the exit gate for visitors. History and reality often travel in opposite directions.
我们现在先把这块先卸下来，然后再
这个拿去顶下那个头子上面，看能不能把它顶断。顶了，把它顶，先把这个顶起来，对，把它顶起来。
A few days ago, the beams on top of East Prosperity Gate became shaky and needed immediate inspection and repair. Conservation of these ancient structures is a primary duty of the Department of Architectural Heritage. The rotten beams are transported back to the department. They've found out where the problem lies.
我刚才一直想的是东西，其实人家是南北。
The next step is to draft and finalize a repair plan and wait for the right time to put it into action. The repair work is a time-consuming process. Walk through the East Prosperity Gate and you will find the Department of Architectural Heritage. Established in December 1958, it oversees the research and conservation of all heritage architecture, which is an integral part of the exhibition Everlasting Splendor, and therefore the department is playing a key role in ensuring the exhibition's success.
南京博物院13件，中间那确认好了是吧？没有那个。今天是礼拜三，礼拜五的时候，我觉得院里的这些就是宫廷器物、书画、图书馆，就一定要给咱们一个最后的一个确认表了。都涉及一个提前要做好这个展具和展柜设计问题。像这个凤阳这个，咱们有些没见过，展览部的老师需要提前去看一下。位子就不说了，然后现在说这个。
The curators have decided that the exhibition will look beyond the walls of '88. Wu Wei started working at the Palace Museum Archaeology Institute in 2013. Since then, he spent most of his time excavating in the field.
确定这是不是涵洞的位置，这个确定死了，那这边就要开工，重点就挖这一块了。哎，我在故宫不是有故宫里办公嘛，就是比如说我之前在那个西华门里面那个地方办公，就我会走到那边就是，哎，我说我现在在北京的话，我可能就已经到了我的办公地点了，也就是，其实现在这边正好是一个废墟，就是这样子。
After labouring in the field for days, Wu Wei is finally reunited with his colleagues from the Palace Museum today.
故宫龙就是样子形状是一样，但是呢，已经没有这么精细了。因为它这个龙的这个腿的这个肌肉感觉雕得特别明显，故宫就不会，故宫就
这不就是锻炼和不锻炼的区别吗？对吧？雕的多，
对，
多飘逸呀！
对，这是好像对，这不是模样。
咱们这应该叫什么兽儿？这个它有脚，其实应该是短头，但它有翅膀，天马，它有翅膀。
The sight of these relics, which were crafted before the Forbidden City was built, make the hearts of experts from the Palace Museum race with joy. Bricks and tiles tend to last longer than wooden structures. This magnificent palace was reduced to dust, but its debris and the relief on them still remind us of the power and wealth it stood for in the Ming Dynasty. Fangyang is the hometown of Zhu Yuanzhang, the first emperor of the Ming Dynasty. In 1369, the newly crowned Zhu Yuanzhang decided to make his hometown the capital of the Ming Dynasty and build an imperial palace here. No expense was spared when building this colossal architectural marvel. But 6 years later, when the palace was beginning to take shape, Zhu Yuanzhang called the whole project off abruptly for reasons unknown. This deserted piece of land was once the foundation of a palace that was designed to last forever.
这个里面是木桩，看到没？这些木桩是这边可能还有一个木桩，还没有被发掘出来。它是加固这个土的，夯土的啊，加固这个，你看这个上面是这个碎砖层啊，它可能这个夯完之后呢，下面加这个很多密集的木桩，能够就是保证这个地基不沉降，就是更加稳固。你看我那个两个是我自己挖的，就是这两个是工人挖的，就是我就是一直掏不到底，就特别深，就是看到没？这两个地钉。
The construction of palaces in ancient China was defined by precision and meticulousness. Craftsmen divided the techniques involved into 8 types, and the first one was used when laying the foundations. The technique used to build the foundations of the Forbidden City was lost in history, and conducting a large-scale underground survey of the imperial palace is not feasible. But this abandoned palace, which was built in the same era, allows us to see how the best craftsmen in the early Ming Dynasty laid the foundations of a palace. The most prominent building of the palace, which could be viewed as the primitive hall of supreme harmony, was supposed to stand here. Its foundations consist of layer upon layer of rammed earth and stone debris. 18 layers have already been excavated. The technique was inherited and improved upon by the craftsmen who built the Forbidden City. This sturdy and strengthened foundation has not only provided a stable footing for the buildings resting upon it over the past 600 years, but also stood as a symbol of eternity for the ruling dynasty and everlasting splendor. Zhu Yuanzhang didn't complete the palace of his dreams, but his son, Zhu Di, recreated it in Beijing 50 years later. However, the two palaces had stood separated from each other for 600 years, until components from the father's palace in Fangyang were transported to the son's for the first time in the year 2020. A solid foundation is not enough to make a palace stand forever. Roofs have played a key role in shielding the traditional Chinese wooden architecture from centuries of wind and rain. The glazed roof tiles were laid side by side, overlapping each other. Although they're waterproof and fire resistant, they do have weaknesses. Records from the Imperial Household Department showed that trained personnel were organised to climb up and clean the roofs of the Forbidden City in each spring and autumn. Legend has it that the roofs of the Imperial Palace have some sort of magical property that keeps birds and grasses away. It's a shame that legend is not true. Seeds of plants, either carried by the wind or hidden within bird droppings, fall and land on the roofs. If they are allowed to root and grow, they can damage the tiles. One interesting fact is that different roofs are often covered by one specific kind of plant. Inspired by the exterior design of the Hall of Supreme Harmony, the Qianlong Emperor had the Hall of Imperial Supremacy built as a residence for him after his retirement. It was in this hall that the emperor held a famous banquet for 1,000 elders. We don't know if the emperor was aware that Chinese foxglove thrives on the roof of this grand hall. The wild grasses are hard to get rid of, and roof cleaning has to be carried out regularly in the Forbidden City. The courtyard housing the Department of Architectural Heritage is littered with brick debris, broken tiles and rotten timber, which were once parts of this ancient palace. The glazed roof tiles borrowed from the Fangyang County Museum date back to the Ming Dynasty and will appear in the exhibition. Another team of curators, fascinated by a more unique type of tile, are busy studying them. Chen Fuji, a carpenter who's been working at the Palace Museum for more than 2 decades, is making a special architectural model for the upcoming exhibition. The Department of Architectural Heritage wants this model made to demonstrate a special type of roof tile, rather than the structure of the building.
是那样画的吗？不是那样画的吧？
应该是这样。
对的，应该是这样画。
拍下来的那个明瓦，边缘的那个锯痕特别明显。
哦，这样我觉得这样就稍微得磨一下。
对。
手工就是这点儿好，机器它就是一个力道，
太猛了，
对，太猛了，特别容易给它吃了。
These 1mm thick tiles are semi-transparent like tissue paper and give off a pearly glimmer. They're hard but can easily break when you try to cut them. This type of roof tile is only found on parts of the eaves of the Hall of Mental Cultivation. For a long time, people believed that they were probably crafted from a special kind of sheet mica. The roof tiles were taken down when the Hall of Mental Cultivation went through a major renovation, and it was concluded that they're actually made from shells of the window pane oyster, not sheet mica. Zhang Chung from the Department of Architectural Heritage has been looking for years, but still hasn't found shells that meet the standards of the original.
如果想要完全的复原养心殿这个窗罩的话，我们要找的这个明瓦呢，比如说拿我买的这个标本来看的话，这一片它的这个尺寸大概是12、13公分的样子。那么我们要加工成这样一片方形的明瓦的话，它至少也是要比这个要大1圈的。那可能确实不等它长到这个岁数就已经被捞起来或者被捡起来了，就很困难。我想试一下，
试试吧，是的。那你再
怎么保证你这样全部拉的是一条线呢？
你是先去完一面掰下来是吗？
啊，对，吃树也是的，最后是掰的。
啊，可以，挺好，打，
这个能打。
这就是
它有点这样。
这样的话是翘起来。
这样不行，这样钉的不好钉，得这样。
对，必须得是那样。讲的时候就要
再多一点。
对。
翻过来用。
那最后合龙是由那个申师傅跟张成联手完成的。
它放到什么地方？
咱以那个，哎，要不对那个门？
不用，我就在边上。也太抢眼了。
再紧一点啊！3、2、1，再来一张。
As of now, in the whole of Beijing, this kind of shell tile is only found on parts of the eaves of the Hall of Mental Cultivation. The shells from this species, from the Athyrus genus, were popular on the southeast coast of China. But how did they find their way to the imperial palace? Who was it built for? Did it have anything to do with Qianlong Emperor's trips to the south? We still don't know the answers to these questions. The Palace of Eternal Spring tells a different and better known story. The Forbidden City was immersed in a festival atmosphere on New Year's Day, 1750, but the then 40-year-old Qianlong Emperor was, in contrast, in a state of grief as he stood alone in the Palace of Eternal Spring mourning his wife, Empress Xiao Shanchun, who had passed away 2 years ago. After her death, the emperor ordered all her things left untouched in the palace. In the following 10 years, the emperor often visited the palace where he thought about his late wife. And he only agreed as the empress's things moved away to make space for the new resident when he passed the throne to his son at the age of 85. The palace is not only a witness to a Qianlong emperor's love for his wife, but also features colourful frescoes on its roof and eaves, which were repainted at the request of the Empress Dowager Cixi when she lived here. Apart from helping shield the wooden structures underneath from wind and rain like roof tiles do, frescoes also brighten up the quarters in the palace with their vivid colours. Visitors are often awed by their exquisite appearance, but the complicated procedures and unique techniques involved in the making of them remain largely unknown.
这叫线法界画，这个界画实际上就是西洋画法。有透视，但是这个为什么就是现在晚期慈禧时候住的地方呢？这个慈禧在的时候，她特别喜欢画这种题材。
Yang Hong is an expert in wall paintings in the Forbidden City, and her former classmate Wang Guangbin specializes in making replicas of these paintings. The central sections of the beams of this corridor in the Palace of Eternal Spring are covered by Suzhou-style frescoes, depicting people and landscapes that are typically found to the south of the lower reaches of the Yangtze River.
踏的时候也是不是保证这个力度是稍微轻一点？
没错，所以说这个自己慢慢掌握的这个。要是时间一重，就把这个就挖里边的那东西就给弄黑了，就看不清了。
The replicas of this fresco will become a highlight of the exhibition, Everlasting Splendor, as it showcases a changing Forbidden City during the late Qing dynasty. Now the tracing is done, they can start to make a replica.
这张是挺好看的，这个好，又稳重，这个颜色，哎，我昨天这一小方巾弄了2个多小时。咱说也能照着画，但是你走样走得太厉害了。
对呀。
我这么着来，尽量就是做到不走样嘛。
对。
The last step is to apply the gold leaf.
先把这照看就知道。这个金呢，因为它那个金的碎面嘛，它碎了以后可以粘上，就是说你差一点也没贴到的，它是可以粘上的。没贴到，你这一小碎金全都走上了。所以说过去贴金的时候不要说贴特实。我这个贴金等于贴的就够实了，就多了，对，等于说就浪费金了。
The frescoes in the Forbidden City are characterized by their lavish use of gold. China saw a significant increase in its gold production in the Qing dynasty and the progress in the manufacturing techniques of gold leaf. Gold leaf became more frequently used in frescoes during the High Qing era, and the glittering imperial palace became a symbol of wealth and prosperity.
站着这个再往。
对，没看觉是站着这个，你看，
到目前来说，这个小样就是算
对，目前来
制作完成了。
对。 8月2号放心背面稿，我看几天啊？1天、2天、3天、4天、5天、6天、7天、8天、9天。
The Department of Architectural Heritage has been making replicas of frescoes for years, using these traditional techniques. Although making replicas is far more complicated and time-consuming compared with simply taking pictures of the original, it can better preserve the details of the frescoes and is an essential part of fresco study and conservation in the Forbidden City.
我这有你架的这个给你照一张。行，等会儿。别照着我。
这上哪去啊？宝贝儿，干什么去啊？大家好。哎，你好。游泳去啊？这是给人家画的啊。哎呀，人来。
就是我说下次没个板子，你拿回来你接那个正好。
Now, these replicas will be stored in the warehouse of the Department of Architectural Heritage. These paintings, jointly finished by Yang Hong and Wang Guangbin, will become important references for future fresco restorers. You can often find all kinds of porcelain masterpieces in the office of the Ceramics branch, part of the Department of Conservation Science. Take this antique lion, for example. Its sparkling white teeth are the result of meticulous care. This blue ceramic tile may look less eye-catching in comparison, but it holds a unique position in the upcoming exhibition, Everlasting Splendor.
像这个如果是酒精再擦不掉的话，就再用丙硼试一下。
那是擦有机物。
擦有机物。
如果有一些它本身就不是有机物，比如说是那种钙质的污染物，那它可能就是这些有机溶剂就擦不掉的。然后还得想其他的办法。
This is where the Department of Conservation Science was located 5 years ago. Now, the whole department has moved to the Restoration Centre in the western part of the Palace Museum, which is nicknamed the Hospital of Cultural Relics. The department not only prides itself on its staff mastery of traditional techniques, but also boasts world-class equipment, allowing it to attract young talent who have a shared enthusiasm for the conservation and protection of cultural relics.
人家可羡慕了，要不然你们忽悠了好多年轻人，非要学这个呢。就人家觉得，哎呀，这啥都不干，就撸猫，是不是亚飞？你是不是那时候是这么想的就报了？你光学一个清洁材料，可能就要学1年。
These ceramic tiles, taken from the remaining part of the spirit pool, were manufactured in Germany, a country far from China. Located inside the Palace of Prolonging Happiness, the Western-style spirit pool was the last building constructed by the Qing government in the Forbidden City. This unique building was left unfinished following the Qing dynasty's downfall in 1911. If it had been completed back then, the spirit pool would have become the first aquarium in China.
那个东西可能包下来的时候，有些是在墙上，有些是在这个瓷砖上。
对啊，这里记得是德国维堡这个品牌的样子，包括现在很多卫浴产品也在用，而且泰坦尼克号当时也是那个地方。
By piecing together the trademark on the tiles, researchers from the Department of Architectural Heritage concluded that they were manufactured by a German company founded in the 1740s, which is still in operation today. More than a century ago, these tiles imprinted with delicate patterns travelled a long way to reach their destination, the Forbidden City. As part of the spirit pool, they now act as witnesses to the cultural exchanges that took place between China and the West. It's hard to tell what motivated the Qing government to initiate the construction of a pool solely for entertainment purposes when the dynasty was in such peril. Those who participated in the construction are long gone, but the restored ceramic tiles lying in a corner of the gallery are silent witnesses to the end of the 500-year-long construction of the Imperial Palace.
它现在这个比较的偏黄，就是色相上应该再暖一点，就差不多了。
他们俩其实，他们两个之间。
Xian Ping, who joined the Department of Architectural Heritage in 2014, has been collecting materials concerning the renovation work conducted in the Forbidden City since 1949. As a curator of the exhibition Everlasting Splendor, she's planning the exhibit showcasing the inheritance of woodworking skills.
这张特别尴尬的是字儿还露一半。
这个应该是他在放大这张照片的时候，他没有把那个底片放全。
那我们当时复制就直接用这张。
She found an important lead in her research, an old group photo of people who participated in the renovation of the first watchtower in the Forbidden City after the founding of the new China. The watchtowers, seen as iconic buildings in the Imperial Palace, are the result of a combination of complex structures and beautiful design that Chinese architecture is so famous for. A watchtower has 9 roof beams, 19 pillars and 72 ridge poles. The past 600 years have seen them go through repeated cycles of damage and repair. Modern research and conservation of these towers started in the 1920s. Zhu Qichen initiated the renovation work of the watchtowers in 1931. The Society for the Study of Chinese Architecture he founded examined and measured the watchtowers and other buildings in the Forbidden City, leaving the invaluable engineering drawings and manuscripts we see today. This was the first time Chinese people studied and recorded their findings of the palace using modern architectural science. Since then, architects armed with modern techniques and craftsmen who inherited their skills from their predecessors crossed paths and joined forces. In 1956, a leaky roof caused severe damage to the wooden structures of the northeast watchtower, and the largest, most complex and most difficult repair project since the founding of the new China was launched in the palace. In this photo, you can not only find senior experts from the Forbidden City like Shan Shi-yuan and Yu Zhou-yun, but also the most renowned carpenters of their generations like Ma Jin-kao and Wen Ke-liang. This project was a successful cooperation between scholars and craftsmen. Most of the people in this photo have passed away, and many of them didn't leave their names. Eager to find out more about the story behind this photo, Xi Yanping decides to go and look for those who are still alive.
来，
刘老师，哎呀呵，来好久不见，好久不见。
来，行，
身体挺好的。
哎，我原来我标准个儿，我的历史档案记载是1米7。
历史档案记载，您坐。
现在那天一量我呀，剩1米6、7了，还不到1米7了。
哦。
这，我这不是我吧？这不是山老？这里有好几个呀，都是那个做保卫工的人，都是中南海过来的，都跟过毛主席这里头有人，那都严格的很。后来还说过笑话，那是赶上冬天施工啊，拆下来以后啊，为了保护的话，就临时围起来，盖个大锡棚罩起来了，罩着外界人呢，天天打故宫过来人往那北长街上，一看这就外边有个谣传。说故宫麻烦了，故宫把角楼拆了，它修不上了。我们心里明白，我们不理他们。西北角楼修完了以后啊，打下的基础，以后再修几个角楼都不成问题了。
您对我们有？
就对我们这些年轻的人，有没有什么想说的话？
成为这方面小专家、大专家、高级专家，成为故宫博物院的古建筑的保护神。
好，谢谢您。
现在你也成了神话人物，
神话人物。好，我们努力。
Most of the names of the craftsmen who helped build the palace were lost in history, and we know little about them. But now, the names of these carpenters have been found and proudly displayed beside the photo. Thanks to their work, the Northwest Watchtower was restored to its original splendour and is still standing today. This project gave the craftsmen a chance to hone and pass down their skills, leaving a comprehensive and detailed record of the design and engineering process. Because of their hard work, ancient architectural skills can be passed down to later generations.
我从事大木工作17年，就是从75年入职到92年，最后调到保健部。这17年里边，故宫黄金时间学技术就是前10年，到85年左右，就是我们第2个角楼修的时候。
400多年了嘛。
是。哎，可以，挺好的啊，有一段没见了啊。
Xia Rongxiang joined the Palace Museum in 1975 and had been working there for 42 years by the time of his retirement in 2017. As a third-generation carpenter, Mr. Xia participated in the repair work of 2 watchtowers.
20多年了。这个老的了，这个老的。一看这工艺就是现在不怎么用了，不怎么用了，都锈了。
The opening of the exhibition is just around the corner. Mr. Xia has been invited over to help improve the design of the exhibit by Di Yajing. He takes out the woodworking tools he used more than 30 years ago.
楠木的东西啊，楠木没有那个硬度，这个是楠木。
来看下工的墨斗。
有20多到
85年。
30多年。
85年为这个角楼，师傅说我以前是一个小墨斗这么大，不够用的，说你去做个墨斗多大点的，做的这个。
Being able to participate in the renovation of a watchtower is the honour of a lifetime for a carpenter. Xia Rongxiang and his seniors took part in the repair work for the Southeast Watchtower in 1981, and by 1985, Xia Rongxiang became a core member of the team, participating in the renovation of the Southwest Watchtower.
1981年6月15号，拆穿望瓦3堂，共用10天左右，参与人18人，赵师傅、翁师傅带领其他师傅还有4个，徒弟12人。说着，我非常感谢这个2个师傅，我的师傅赵成茂和我的领导翁克良翁师傅，是他们2个，我哥俩商量好了，把我放在内线。
Repairing a watchtower involves a staggering number of different wooden components.
你是比如把一个角楼拆，从上层3层拆到1层，那上千个构件都码在那儿，你一定要标好一个号。你标了这个号，你还能按这个号归回去。这样他就给了我一个任务，说你把现在咱们大约这个图纸记录拆到哪一层啊？比如大木构件多少，领子有多少根儿啊？梁有动了多少根儿啊？船的一共有多少？就是头天你先把这个图纸你拿回家，你去熟悉。那个师傅他经常说了一个，就是小伙子不能认怂，叫抓木如抓虎。说你一旦抓住它，千万不能松手，啊，扛你也得扛起来。那会儿就是遇到困难，没有想到退，那只能往前走。
Xia Rongxiang is visiting the gallery before the exhibition begins. The traditional tools used by carpenters have been made in line with his suggestions.
材料研究，然后这技艺传承，这是4个块儿。对，因为好多人都觉得你修古建筑，你不就是刨开就修嘛？其实他不知道里面有人的事儿，有东西的事儿。
还是人是主要的，材料不行，你可以选那个，你认识它啊，什么是朝阴，什么是朝阳的，这是什么地儿松木，放在什么地儿有用，还是人的问题。
哎，所以这种照片特别的珍贵。就是以前就是很少照这种合影，大家设计者跟施工者一起照相。
我当时还跟我的师傅说呢，我说咱们拿油纸包起来，啊，隐蔽处藏起来，将来以后若干年以后人再拆，能知道当时他们是谁。我说我可以把名字现在有名字。
对，是的。
我师傅说别介，那我永远不得翻身了，被压着。
The faces of the people in the photo remind Xia Rongxiang of the time they worked together more than 30 years ago.
船上边中间有一层望板隔着，这是跳飞船的眼头。
He has devoted himself to his students after his retirement, passing his skills on to the younger generation.
比如守门，故宫我们当时学徒是要求，就是9%放在这儿就行，放出这个卡具，只要刘宪达出来就基本这个角以礼。
These young faces, eagerly absorbing knowledge from their senior, will inherit and pass down Chinese woodworking principles. The 453 objects are on display, ready for when the exhibition begins.
主要是我担心这个
也行，左边要加这也行，就是这样的角，它无酸的，就是对纹路不会有太大的影响。
9月10号开幕是吧？
This antique calendar was manufactured in 1934. Now it's opened and set to September 10th, the opening day of the exhibition. "86 years after it was made, this calendar is put to use again. Young Hong has come to fetch her mentor early in the morning.
换换装上院里，好，
这个换换装，
换换装，哎。
Wang Zhongji, a retired expert from the Department of Architectural Heritage, is the oldest attendee of the opening ceremony of the exhibition. Nowadays, he prefers to stay at home, but this time he's accepted the Palace Museum's invitation.
都老了，都老了。你比我小几岁，小3岁。你属什么的吧？啊？你是3几年出生？你3几年出生？37年。哦，那比我小4岁。这4岁啊，在人中年时候不闲，到这个岁数，4岁就有点差别了。
Roof charms from the abandoned palace in Fangyang, replicas of the frescoes in the Palace of Eternal Spring, the blue ceramic tiles that witness the downfall of the Qing dynasty are presented together in this gallery, celebrating the 600th birthday of the Forbidden City.
我们来看一下这张照片，我觉得现在很难见到这样的照片。这就是西北角楼当年56年修缮的时候，单士元先生、于卓云先生和这个工匠们一起拍的照片。设计人员跟工匠一起来把这个建筑修好，其实是我们真正的古建筑保护之道。
没墨斗，
这我都会，
锯我也会，
帽子我也会，
帽子我也会。
他那个建筑啊，凤阳的，这是他老家。
这东西有太阳透光，没太阳自己能发光，感觉吧？
讲明代故宫城的营建，对，紫禁城，明代的营建，他们租地嘛。
History is created by people. The exhibits are witnesses to generations of dedication, which has kept the Forbidden City alive and strong. This magnificent palace, with its characteristic red walls and glazed yellow tiles, is an expression of countless people's time and effort, and a symbol of an undying legend.
很次，我估计肯定也是国力衰弱的时候。
今年电子系统这一块是查了6000多个点，
就是轰拱的厉害。 像这有节目发现问题了，肯定往那儿治。
只有把这些材料定位回它在历史当中的那个位置，它才可以解决更多的问题。